Hey everybody, welcome back to This Week in Vegas History. And this week we're going to talk about what's kind of a no man's land, kind of a no-go spot for most visitors to Las Vegas. That area between downtown and the Strip, between Fremont and Sahara. It goes by many names, but we're going to talk about some of them and some of the things you might actually want to visit here. Now, before I get started, let me make a point. There are areas of Las Vegas Boulevard, south of Fremont, which are a bit shady, a bit sketchy. Now, I have made the walk up and down Las Vegas Boulevard in this area on many occasions, morning, afternoon, and even at night. I do believe that it is generally safe. It is a very well-trafficked and well-patrolled area. If you're comfortable walking in an urban setting, I don't think you'll find it significantly different than in any other city. If not, I would probably avoid this area on foot, certainly if you're by yourself and certainly in the evening hours. You will encounter characters along the way, some of whom may accost you, though, again, I've never felt physically threatened in this area, but if you choose to walk up and down, you should definitely exercise caution. Of course, a rental car or bus or other kinds of transportation can also get you around nicely if there's any spots I mentioned today you might want to check out. Traditionally, this entire zone has had kind of a bad reputation, some of it earned. A place that's filled with seedy motels, one of the last areas of Las Vegas with these classic old 50s, 60s motels, many of whom became pay-by-the-hour sorts of places. Most of them are now gone. In addition, there were other adult-oriented businesses, although most of them are gone as well. Showgirl Video closed last year, and it's been years since we said goodbye to the venerable Olympic Gardens. There is still one seedy little strip club, talk of the town, but can't recommend you go there either. When you first start south on Las Vegas Boulevard and wave goodbye to Fremont Street, you enter an area with a lot of government buildings, whether it be city, county, state, or federal. Everybody's got a big building here, one of which might be of interest to you if you're planning to get married in Las Vegas is the courthouse, which does occasionally attract a good number of people for various purposes, but often to pick up one of those lovely Nevada wedding licenses. Of course, there are many wedding chapels that still dot Las Vegas Boulevard between the Strip and Fremont Street, and they seem reasonably nice. I've not gotten married at one, but they do not feel at all seedy, so if you're interested in a very traditional kind of Las Vegas wedding, it's definitely something to check out. When you finally pass through this sort of government building zone, there's not a lot to see until you reach most unlikely of tourist attractions, the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. Yes, it's the location for the filming of the very successful A&E series, Pawn Stars. If you choose to visit, and you might as well, particularly if you're taking a walk, keep in mind that you're not likely to see any of the principals of the show unless there's a taping going on, and the place is much smaller than it appears on TV. But if you want to check out some fairly overpriced merchandise or pick up some swag so you can sport your Chumley t-shirt wherever you go, it's definitely worth a visit. They've also expanded into a Pawn Plaza next door, which has a barbecue place and I think a couple of other businesses. I don't know how successful that's been, but hey, definitely worth a look if you're in the neighborhood. Charleston Avenue, one of the most important thoroughfares in all of Las Vegas, is also sort of the beginning of the Arts District. And though the center of the Arts District is more to the west at the intersection of Main and Charleston, it's only a couple of blocks walk along Charleston before you start to see some of the art galleries and small businesses, bars, restaurants that have sprung up over the area. Certainly if you're in town for a First Friday, it's worth a visit. And it's definitely an area that you might want to check out, particularly if you're interested in visiting some little visited areas of the city. Definitely has improved the neighborhood. Like I said, you get all the way over to Maine. There's a bunch of fun little shops there, including the Gambler's Bookstore and just some fun little places to poke your head in and out of. Not necessarily what you might expect of kind of an old urban neighborhood. Once you get past Charleston and continue south, things get a little bit bleak. Let's not lie here. I mentioned the closed down motels. There's a lot of boarded up buildings or fenced off lots along the way. They did actually refurbish the old Thunderbird Hotel. And some of the photographs online don't look bad, but I don't know how many people are really going to want to stay in this neighborhood. There's a couple of hostels, so if you're a hostel sort of person, you're likely to end up there. There's a classic old lounge called Dino's in the midst of the district that, serves up some strong drinks and some karaoke if you're interested in checking it out. A lot of the businesses along this area have kind of died out again, it's not a particularly interesting area to walk through. It is typically referred to as the Gateway District, and it continues all the way down to the south. Now, if you do decide to walk this, as you get further and further to the south, do not, I repeat, do not turn to your right. Do not go west. The area, particularly in and around the Strat, is known as the Naked City. Now, supposedly this is because in better days, I must assume, there were showgirls living in the area and they liked to sunbathe au natural. Why don't we have one of these neighborhoods now? But we don't. But unfortunately, the Naked City has become a cesspool of drugs and violence and crime and poverty, and it is definitely not a place you want to be. Maybe you can drive through it during the daytime, but don't be caught anywhere near it at night. It is a genuinely dangerous part of Las Vegas. And so when you hear that the Strat is in a bad neighborhood, they're not kidding. It is. And you're fine if you stay on the property, but you do not want to make a right and head into that area, no matter how tempted you might be to check it out. There's plenty of videos on YouTube, and some of them involve police blotters, so avoid that at all costs. Now, we cannot talk about the Gateway District without talking about the most famous landmark, and that is what they now call the Strat and Sky Pod, but which I will always think of, and I'm sure its founder will always think of, as the Stratosphere. Now, Bob Stupak was one of those sort of Carnival Barker sorts of characters, which Las Vegas has spawned over the years. He used his wiles and wits, and who knows, maybe a little bit more, over the years to create a kind of empire. Prior to the Stratosphere, there was a place called Vegas World, and Vegas World was the home of the most outlandish sorts of promotional deals. Come stay at the Vegas World, and for $200, and you'll get $200 worth of chips to play with. Of course, they were promotional chips, and there were sorts of issues with the government and how honest Mr. Stupak would be. But Mr. Stupak had a dream. He would build the tallest observation tower west of the Mississippi. And with the help of a few firefighters, the place did catch on fire during construction, and some last-minute investors, he got his wish. The Stratosphere Tower is indeed one of the most iconic sights in all of Las Vegas, and definitely worth a visit, particularly at night when it lights up and you can see all around the city. It's also a great way to figure out where you are in Las Vegas when you're lost, because you can pretty much see it everywhere. And of course, it wouldn't be a program from Vegas Tips and Tricks without the tip and trick to make sure that when you decide to go up in the tower, you tell them you are going to go up to the lounge, and you should during happy hour because everything is more or less half price, and then you can avoid the outlandish price they charge to get up a couple of floors higher. And there's also a restaurant there, and it's fine. They've remodeled the Strat in recent years. It's a fairly nice place to stay. I have nothing against it. It is a bit isolated, though it considers itself to be on the Strip. And if it is on the Strip, and I guess we'll allow that, it is the only Strip property that is formally in the city of Las Vegas. Because if you follow just a couple blocks to the south, you'll reach Sahara. And at that point, you leave the city of Las Vegas and enter Paradise, as it's called. Along that walk, you'll see an IHOP and a tattoo parlor. And hey, they have one of those dispensaries right there, too. Again, it's not a bad walk, certainly. There's a lot of people doing it. I even did a video of it on my last trip. You can check out if you'd like. So there you go. That's our story of the no man's land, the no-go zone, the demilitarized zone. And so you learned a little bit more about what's really there and how dangerous some parts of it may be. So, hey, if you want to check it out the next time you're in Las Vegas, exercise caution, but feel free to do so. Hey, really appreciate everybody for watching our program. Now, next week, we're going to start in talking about the Strip. We're going to talk about the history of the Strip, what's been where, when, why, and how. And there's a lot of great stories there, so you won't want to miss that. Of course, we will be back on Saturday with another episode of Vegas Weekly, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our broadcasts. And I hope that you have a historically great week. We will see you soon.